Hello everyone, welcome back to Witches the Moon. I'm your Monday hostess Natalie, and I'm just going to preface this video right now by saying it's actually Thursday evening. I apologize for the big box. I forgot to move it before I started this video. I just got home from work. I rushed home, changed my shirt because this weekend we are going to Arkansas. Monday is my 25th wedding anniversary. And we are going to go stay at a cabin in the Ozarks where there is no signal, no internet. It's going to be a trial. We stayed in a similar cabin a few years back with our kids, but that was different because we had our kids and we got to play games and, things like that. This time it's going to be just me and the husband because my sister couldn't go along. Thanks, Corey. But either way, Monday I will be busy renewing my wedding vows, and so we're having a hand fasting ceremony at Magnetic Springs in Arkansas. So if anybody's in Arkansas and you want to come help us celebrate, we're going to be at Magnetic Springs at noon doing a hand fasting. So with Lisa Dawn. This week's video is how to develop your psychic abilities, how to build on your psychic skill. Now, it is my personal belief that every single human being on this planet is imbued with psychic ability, that you have the ability to perceive and to send energetic messages to others, okay? And I do believe that it is a part of our brain that we don't tap into very often. I do believe it's housed primarily in the hippocampus, and I do think it's related to your fight or flight response, so it's an instinctive kind of thing. It's like when you are walking in a dark place or, you're in a room and all of a sudden you start feeling uncomfortable. You get that feeling like somebody's watching you and you start kind of looking around and you might even make eye contact with somebody. Or you're walking alone at night and you get that creepy feeling that you're not alone. Usually you're not. There's a reason you feel that way, whether it's human or animal or otherwise. You kind of know it's an instinct, and I do think that what we consider instinct is really psychic ability presenting itself. I think that society has come to call it instinct because it's more acceptable socially. I don't know when we got away from believing or knowing, actually not just believing but knowing that we are psychic spiritual beings and that we can tap into that and contact one another and send information and messages to one another psychically. And I think that goes beyond the grave because once you become a spiritual being, you're no longer bound by the physical body. I can tell you honestly, one night before I went to sleep, I was like, show me what I need to know. I just kind of put it out there. And I swear to you, my very Mexican mother-in-law showed up in my dream and walked me step by step through how to make her rice. Now, I hate Mexican rice, Spanish rice. Can't stand it. Had some at school when I was a kid, made me sick, and haven't liked it since. But she apparently thought I needed to know how to make this because there's a specific methodology to doing it. She knew in life that I didn't like it, so she never bothered wasting her time. She showed me how to do enchiladas. She showed me how to make her refried beans. She showed me how to make her jalapeno stuffing at Thanksgiving that my husband loves, so I make that for him. Never showed me how to make the rice. Never showed me how to make her champurrado either, unfortunately. That recipe died, but I'm very sad about that. So, Maria, please come back. Licha wants to come show me how to do that. That'd be great. In any case, she walked me step by step through how to do it, specifically telling me, do this or it's not going to turn out right. Do not do this. Do not use this type of rice or it's not going to turn out right. So that night, I made tacos and rice. My husband comes home and he's like, as soon as he walked in the door, what are we having for dinner? Tacos? Okay. So he sits down at the table and he lifts the lid on the pot. He looks at the rice and he looks at me and he goes, why are we having rice? And I said, because your mother told me to. He goes, what do you mean my mother told you to? And I said, your mother came to me last night in my sleep and walked me step by step through how to make it. He's looking at me like, So he takes a bite and he goes, well, you got the flavor right. So, and I do believe that would be considered a psychic message. She came to me in my dream state because that is now how she can communicate with me. Gave me the information she thought I needed to know. Anyhow, So, how do you develop these skills? That's what this week is all about. So, sorry about the long intro to this video. But I'm going to show you some ways and talk to you about some ways in which I develop my psychic ability. That story actually was one of the first ways that I do it. I do work through dream state. I make a conscious effort as I'm going to sleep, and I'm kind of in that state between sleep and awake, to open myself to communication with non-malevolent, okay, I can't talk tonight, guys, I'm so sorry, non-malevolent beings that wish to communicate with me. If there is anyone who's beneficent that wishes to communicate with me or has a message or information for me, I am open to receiving. So a lot of times I will get those kinds of messages through my dreams. I will also try to communicate my messages to other people by focusing on that message as I drift off to sleep. I will see that person's face in my mind. I will focus on them and I will tell them, you need to know this, or be open to me and hear my message. And I do that. And you can actually do that at any time of the day. I just have found that for me personally, that kind of in-between state, I always do better with the in-between states, the in-between times, that time twilight, the time just before dawn, and it's kind of, that ethereal time that I seem to be able to better communicate using that method. Now, ways that I'm working and have worked on developing my intuition and psychic ability include some very, very simple exercises. This was one of the very first ones that I did. I sat down and created a card. As you can see, I'm not very artistically inclined. I was actually in a hurry, with a triangle, a rectangle, a circle, and a square. And what I do is I mix the cards up and I put them face down. And I made sure that when I put the drawing on there, that I made sure they were all facing the same direction in the card, if that makes sense. So it's all like this. And that way, when they're upside down, there's no way to distinguish them from one another. You want to make sure that the picture does not bleed through to the other side. If it does, you can just put some paper over it, or put it on some paper and stick it on the card. But either way, you want to make sure it's not bleeding through, otherwise you're not really developing your psychic ability, right? So you mix up the cards, and what you do is you lay them out, and I put them 2 and 2, and I will run my hand over the cards until an image pops in my mind. And then I'll pick up the card and see if that's the image. I will also specifically seek out a shape. So for example, at first I just kind of run my hand over it and get a feel for whatever is there, right? Okay. Now, I'm not always right when I do this, by the way, so don't think that just because you didn't get it right doesn't mean that you're not still working on developing that intuition and skill. But a lot of factors go into affecting your psychic abilities. When I am doing exercises like this, I try to make sure that I'm not going to be disturbed. I don't want to hear the dogs barking, which I don't know if you can hear them in the background. I've got most of them outside right now. 2 of them are in the other room. They want to eat, but it's a little early for them to eat just yet. So daylight savings time, they haven't figured out yet. In any case, don't think that because you didn't get it right every time that you don't have any psychic ability, okay? Or that it's random chance. Really give yourself the opportunity to feel the heat, feel the energy of the shape that comes off. For me, I feel it as a heat, like a heat signature. So I will put my hand out there and I will just feel around. And when an image pops into my head, I'll say, it's a this, and I'll pick that card up and see if it's what it was. Now, a good way to work on that and track it for yourself is to keep a little notebook. Okay? And just each time you get it right, put a plus. Each time you get it wrong, put a minus. And put the date next to it. And just watch. And you eventually will start seeing that you get more pluses than minuses. Now, you got a 25% chance getting it right. Okay? So that's one very, very simple exercise. Other exercises that I like to do are to see if people respond to the messages that I send out psychically. So I may send out a message about a specific event or person or thing to someone. And I will wait to see if that person mentions that to me. If they mention it to me, even though they may not realize I've sent them a message psychically, I know that the message got through because now they're bringing up this topic. And I try to make it not something that I know they're going to talk about. Do you see what I'm saying? Like maybe a friend we haven't seen in a long time, it was a mutual friend or something like that. And I'll wait to see if they bring that person up. Even if they just say, well, you know what? It's kind of crazy, but I've been thinking about so-and-so lately. You know, that message got through. So other ways that I like to work on my psychic skill are actively employing other people as a partner. Sometimes it is very, very useful to have a partner with you. And I do it kind of like a Pictionary thing. So you separate yourselves in some manner. Okay. At first, it's useful to be in the same room, but maybe you have something between you. Okay. And you sit and you meditate. Now, that's something I did forget to mention. Meditation opens you up, specifically if you do an Om meditation. There is a specific frequency on which Om is carried that is common amongst all human brainwaves. Okay, binaural beats help a great deal. So if you meditate with binaural beats, it seems to tap into that commonality, human psyche ability for us to kind of tap into one another's energy. I fully believe that every human being on this planet is somehow connected psychically, that there is a divine source and we are all a part of that, and therefore we're almost like a collective. I want to say like the Borg, but I'm afraid that's going to sound too nerdy. Star Trek fans will get that. Nobody else will. In any case, we are a collective. We can tap into one another. Any person, theoretically, you could tap into any human being you wanted to on this planet. And theoretically, you could tap into anyone alive or dead, which is how mediums work. Their energy, their psychic portal is open so that those who have passed to the other side can contact them and send messages through them. So that is just one of the ways. If you know someone who is a medium or psychic, well, we're all psychics, but you know what I mean. Somebody who is actively using their psychic abilities. Get that person to sit with you and communicate with you. Have a set time at the day and say, okay, at this time of the day, let's both sit down and let's see if we can't communicate to one another. Even if it's just one simple thought. And I say start with something simple. Start with an object or a shape or even a color and try to get them to communicate that to you so you can receive. It's much easier, I think, to receive than it is to send, because receiving psychically is on the subconscious level. It's your fifth dimensional self getting that energy, getting that information, and sending it down to your conscious mind and the third dimensional self in which you act upon it. So, for example, say I was going to do some practice. See, once again, the coffee has worn off. It's like almost 8 o'clock at night. I'm just getting home from work and I need more coffee. Okay. If I was going to do some psychic practice work with like my sister or a friend that lived maybe 2 doors down even, you can start adding some separation to that and saying, okay, I want you to practice some psychic work with me. Sometime this morning, I'm going to try to send a message to you. So if you get a sudden vision of a color or a shape or something like that that pops into your head, write it down. Now, this is also a mindfulness practice because mindfulness, I think, taps directly into your psychic ability. It opens that psychic door. So when you're mindful of what you're doing and you're mindful of where you are, it kind of allows you to when you become conscious of a thought, then you can take that and say, well, I hadn't thought about that today, but, all of a sudden, about 9 o'clock, I saw, I just saw the color orange popped into my head, or I thought about an apple, and then I started thinking it might be good to have an apple, and see if that matches up with anything that they sent you. And again, don't be discouraged if it's not the case at first. This kind of work takes years to develop properly for most people. Some people, It's there. Their gifts are already open for whatever reason. They're vibrating on a higher dimensional plane or whatever you want to call it. Their psychic portal is far more open, or they're just open to receiving more, and they can do it, and it's not a problem. And then there's people like me where I'm very clairvoyant and clairsentient. I sense things and I know things before they happen. Sometimes I even smell things. So, there are times when it's open. Now, I will tell you that I spent years trying to shut that stuff out. So I have been spending years trying to open myself back up to that. And the reason I shut myself off to it was because I had a priest who told me that my gifts were not of God, that my gifts were of the devil, and that I shouldn't use them. Well, but the thing was, it just happens. So clearly it's not something I'm trying to control. Now I am trying to control it. Now I'm trying to get control of that and allow myself open and closing. Because here's the other thing. When you're doing psychic work, what you need to keep in mind is you need to keep a level of protection up for yourself. Because when you do start to open yourself up psychically, things you don't want coming in can get in. And that includes negative energy that comes from any source, whether it be spirit, whether it be somebody else's bad juju or vibe, or just even your neighbors having a bad day, and some of that is coming to you because you are now open to it. So make sure that you put protections in place. Vision a bright white light or a bright blue light surrounding you as you go into this protection work and say, I am protected from anything malicious or harmful. And give yourself that protection before you open yourself up to this stuff. And that goes for any type of divination work that you do as well, because you are opening that psychic portal. Now that's going to be my next technique. Divination work. Sitting down with a good set of tarot cards. Sitting down with your pendulum and doing some pendulum work. Sitting down with your crystal and gazing and just allowing these images to come to your mind and making a note of what you see. I'm very big on journaling and keeping diaries of these kinds of things. Journals, technically, not a diary. Dear diary, I was doing my psychic work today and I saw this. No, I'm talking about a journal where you say, these are the cards that I drew, these are the messages. This happened that corresponded with this. This message didn't seem to apply to anything that happened to me today. That's going to happen because that message may not have been for you. It might have been for somebody else close to you. So pay attention to that too, because sometimes when you open yourself up, you become sensitive to the psychic messages being intended for others as well. So don't think that every message you get's for you, and don't discard any message that you get. No, that's not me. That's not going to pertain to me, because you just never know what's coming down the pike. And yeah, I'm talking about the tower card. Yeah. So in any case, divination is an excellent way. Candle scrying, mirror scrying, crystal scrying, water scrying, things like that will definitely open those psychic portals. So, long and short of it is simple psychic tasks, divination, meditation, and having a psychic partner, someone to help you develop the ability to open yourself to those messages. And always, always, always protect yourself. Okay, guys, with that, I'm going to let it go because I have to go pack, because I still have to work tomorrow and it's a long day, and I want to make sure that I don't cover anything somebody else might cover, which I might have anyway. But I definitely encourage you guys to watch all of the videos this week, because I certainly plan to, at least as soon as I get some signal and I get back from the boondocks. I plan on sitting down and watching everybody's videos and seeing some of the techniques, because I'm real big on learning techniques from other people. Not everything works for everyone, and so I like to explore and see what works for me. Again, thank you so much for watching, and blessed be.